Hi everyone, Farmer Hannah here. Thanks for joining me for this month's Montana Farmer in the Classroom video. Today we're going to be talking about one of the most important crops that we grow in Montana, and that is wheat. Wheat is a really important part of our diets as well, so in the next video we're going to be talking about all the different foods that we eat that come from wheat. In today's video, we will be discussing the wheat plant and its life cycle. We'll learn more about seeds. We'll talk about how we grow wheat and especially growing wheat in the state of Montana. Now, if you have been following along with the Farmer in the Classroom packet, you can go ahead and pull that out. Make sure you have that handy. We'll be doing two things in it today. We will add a little bit to our food map of Montana, and then we'll be doing a fill in the blank worksheet on page 4. So you might want to go ahead and read through that ahead of time so you know what to be looking out for. And we'll cover all of these things in this video and the next. So if you are following along, go ahead and have that nearby. All right, so like I said, we're talking about wheat, which is Montana's #1 crop. Wheat is a special kind of plant. It is actually a type of grass, but it's not the same grass that you might see outside by the playground or in your lawn. It grows a lot taller than that, and it grows seeds, which are big enough for us to eat. Grass plants grow best in large open spaces, not really in mountains, not really in towns. You need a lot of space for them. And so areas where there are not a lot of trees either. Now I want us to think about what part of Montana is like that. What part of Montana is flat with wide open spaces and not too many trees or mountains? And to help us think about this, we're going to look at the map that farmers Jason and Lori showed us in earlier lessons. In the first lesson, you labeled Montana, or Missoula here, where we live in Montana. And in the last lesson, Farmer Lori might have showed you where to label the apple or to draw an apple for the apple lesson. Today, we are going to be drawing the golden triangle. We're going to be drawing this upside down triangle and labeling it the golden triangle. This is the region of Montana where we grow the most wheat, where wheat grows best. So if we look at this map, we can see on the western side of the state, there are all these darker colored bumps and ridges. Those represent the mountains in the western portion of the state. Missoula is sort of flat, but it's surrounded by mountains because it's a valley. So the areas where we were looking to grow wheat are those flat, open areas. Those are going to be found in the plains, the eastern part of Montana. In the Golden Triangle Plains, that is where we grow the most wheat. So in Montana, there are more than 9,000 wheat farms, and most of them are up here in the Golden Triangle. So to draw this on our map, you're going to draw an upside down triangle. One edge is going to go along the northern border where Montana meets Canada. So just follow the top of the map there, and then bring your points down. One goes along this mountain range here. And then if you want to color that gold or yellow, you could do that. And then please label it. So please write golden triangle either inside or next to with a little arrow labeling it. Great. So in December, for the video about apples, Farmer Lori told you guys a little bit about seeds. We are going to learn more about seeds because they are a really, really important part of the plant life cycle. So why do plants make seeds? Well, plants make seeds as a means to reproduce, to make more of themselves. So plants make seeds to make more plants, to make more seeds, to make more plants, and so on and so on. It's a cycle. So seeds are the beginning and the end of a plant's growing cycle. It starts with a seed, which is a baby plant. Right inside the seed, there's a baby plant and lots of things that it needs to begin to grow. And then by the end of the plant's life cycle, it will have produced another seed that can one day be planted to grow something new. The same plant again. So what part of the plant makes the seeds? Maybe you remember this from Farmer Lori's lesson about apples. She showed you a picture of apple trees with beautiful pink and white blossoms on those apple trees. And those blossoms, Farmer Lori told us, were pollinated by bees. And once they're pollinated, they can turn into apples, which have seeds on the inside, right? Now, wheat seeds, they also grow flowers. Those flowers are pollinated by the wind instead of bees. And then they don't really make a fruit that we eat. They just produce the seeds from the flowers. Now, wheat is only one kind of seed that we eat. We eat lots of different seeds in our diet, and people all around the world eat different kinds of seeds too. So some other seeds also come from grass plants, like rice and corn on the cob, and also popcorn. Each of these kernels is a seed, and corn is just a giant grass plant. We can also get different kinds of seeds from flowers, like sunflower seeds obviously come from a sunflower. Poppy seeds, little black ones you might have on a bagel, those come from the poppy flower, which are very beautiful. We also eat fruit seeds, like pumpkin seeds. You might have had those around Halloween when you carve your pumpkin. And then there are also fruit seeds that we don't eat on purpose, really. They just are very small, like strawberries, or maybe in watermelon. We might just eat the seeds because it's easier to eat them with the fruit than to try to separate the tiny, tiny little seeds. And other seeds include beans and nuts. So if we think about all the foods that we eat, a lot of them are seeds in one form or another. Now let's think about the life cycle of wheat and how we grow wheat in Montana. So wheat plants, when they're very young, just look like regular grass, like you might see in your yard, except it's all in these very neat rows. So it starts out very small, like all things do. And then it grows over time. This second picture here, they're maybe halfway grown, they're maybe up to my knee. This is before they've started to make their flowers. I want you to notice too, that these pictures, it's not just a small patch of wheat. It's not just a small garden full of wheat. It's a huge field of wheat, right? Because we eat the seeds and those seeds are really small, we need to grow very large areas of wheat plants in order to make enough wheat for us to eat. So as the plants grow, they'll grow maybe up to my waist height, so a bit taller. They will then make their flowers. Now, I don't see any flowers here that look like apple blossoms or daisies or sunflowers. The flowers of the wheat plant are actually these things right here. These sort of long, lighter colored little pieces all together with those long hairs off the top. Those are the flowers of the wheat plant. Like I mentioned before, they are pollinated by the wind. So if a gust of wind comes in through a wheat field, it will blow the tiny little particles of pollen from one flower to another. And that way, the flowers are pollinated and then they can make the seeds that eventually we'll eat. But we don't harvest the wheat when it's green like that. We wait until the wheat has turned this beautiful golden color. Now that happens when the wheat plants dry out over the summer as the weather warms up and we have less rain. Now, even if you've never seen a wheat field, I think you've probably seen this process before. If you think about Missoula in the springtime, everything is beautiful and lush and green, especially when we look at the hills or maybe our lawns start to turn green. And that's because the weather is a little bit cooler and very wet. And so new grasses and plants start to grow, and they're very beautiful and green and full of life. But we know that Missoula in Montana, our summers can get very hot and they dry out a lot as the summer goes on. So as the weather warms up and dries out, the plants dry out too, and grasses turn from green to gold. So that is why that area on the map that we drew, we labeled it the Golden Triangle. Because if you imagine a whole field or lots of different farms, fields of wheat, all turning from green and drying out to gold, the whole area looks like just a sea of beautiful golden wheat. So that's why it's called the Golden Triangle. Now, once the wheat has turned golden and dried out, the last thing that we have to do from the fields is to harvest the wheat. So in order to harvest the wheat farmers use a big machine called a combine. Now, a combine is a machine that combines two jobs. The first job is to cut the wheat plants and collect them. Then the second job that the combine does is it separates the seeds from the rest of the plant. So we can see here where the wheat plants have been cut, and then next to them, there's still a bunch of wheat that hasn't been cut, and those really fluffy sort of looking things on top, those are the wheat seeds from the pollinated flowers. So the combine cuts the plants down and then separates out those little tiny seeds from the rest of the plant. This is what they look like after they are harvested. I think we're going to stop there for this video now that we have learned more about seeds, more about where we grow wheat in Montana, and about the whole process of growing wheat from seed when we plant it to seed when we harvest it. In our next video, we're going to be talking about what happens next. How do we get from these hard wheat seeds to foods that we eat in our everyday lives? So thanks for joining me for this first video about wheat, and I hope that you'll stick around for the second video. See you soon.